Thank you for joining us. This is Health Your Own Way podcast, and I'm your host, Mo Akins. Welcome to another episode. Today, we're going to be hearing a unique story. It's really more about how it's never too late to find real purpose in your life or even try something different. And so, my guest speaker is Gail. She's the author of 11 published books, and she's a co-founder of and a CEO and a publisher of Ready Magazine, a quarterly print publication in 50 US states and also several countries. It's actually created to give a platform for women and girls to share their stories. So I really want to thank Gail for being part of this conversation because I want to hear her story. When I first heard this or even had the title, I was like, okay, she needs to come on the show to express and tell us how she did this because I didn't understand. So before we go further, Gail, anything else you would like to add before we start?
Hey, no, you got it. Well, in addition to that, I'm also a news host, morning news host, Monday through Thursday on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn Live. So
You do a lot, Gail. Okay, you're making me feel tired. Like you're making me feel like I'm lazy.
you're
So
not lazy.
honestly, like I know I said initially like a unique story. So before we go further, like I know that I mentioned what you do now, but my understanding is that you used to be a pastor's wife and you were ordained. So
Yes.
listen, Gail, you go from pastor and wife and ordained to what you're doing now. There's a huge gap. So you have to explain how you did this, please. Because I was like, what is she talking about? Because people don't normally just jump there. But go ahead, Gail. Tell us, please.
Yes. My husband and I actually planted a church, and we gave that up about 2.5 years ago. But we're still doing ministry, but we're doing it differently now, not in a gathered space on Sunday mornings. I got married. I married my husband, who at that time was a teacher. From there, he went to becoming a police officer, and then from there, he went into becoming a pastor. So I didn't marry a pastor; I married a teacher. But through the years, we've grown. For me, I've always been in ministry for the most part of my life. But all of that just became so much. And I said, every day, I want to touch people every day, not just on Sunday mornings, not just in four walls of a building. I want to do what is now coined as marketplace ministry. So to those listening or who read a bio, they see it as, wow, that's a serious leap. But I'm just not in the pulpit anymore. I'm now doing ministry every day. Does that make sense?
100%. Because I never even heard that term, marketing ministering. Is that what you said? It was marketing?
Marketplace ministry.
Market. I've never heard of that. This is the first time. Maybe because I need to go to church more, but never mind. That's a different story, Gail. It's a different story, Gail. I guess the question is, how did you, how long, first of all, marketplace ministry, how did you know that existed and how did you transition to that, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, no problem. I knew of it a lot for years because attending seminary,
Okay.
but people weren't really doing it. And what happened was, and I can't remember the initial author, but people started doing some research and realized, okay, every day in the workplace, whether you're in corporate America, a nonprofit, entrepreneur, small business, if you're doing some sort of help, outreach coordinating, giving to different causes, that's a form of ministry. So instead of just saying we're coming into a building and having a message and praying and hearing a song and hearing a man or a woman give a message or a sermon, if you will, why not look at how can you touch people every day? And when my husband and I looked at our lives, we were touching people every day. We were making that phone call. We were getting a phone call saying, "Hey, can you go to a breast cancer appointment with me?" And I would be like, "Sure. Where am I meeting you at?" I ended up being the accountability partner of so many people, or someone calling us saying, "Hey, we're having challenges in our marriage. Can we sit down and speak with you?" It wasn't in the four walls of a church. It was, sure, let's go get a cup of coffee, or let's go have lunch, or let's go have dinner. And the four of us would go and meet. Or someone would say, I'm having challenges with my child in school. The teacher's not listening. Can you go with me? Sure, I'll meet you at the school. Make sure I have a visitor's badge so that I can see you. It created so much. It's like, this is marketplace ministry. This is not in the four walls. This is what we would call church unusual. It's outside the walls, and more people are doing that today. I think for the most part, we known it as missionaries, and when we say we're doing mission work, most often it's out of the country. Well, you can do mission work right here in the country. And they just changed the term, the wording, if you will, to marketplace ministry.
I have two questions for that. First one, did you find it challenging because you said you already do, was it challenging to transition full-time there? Or it was just a seamless approach?
Transition from having the church building
Into a marketplace?
The
Full-time.
the difficulty for me, it was difficult for me to some degree because I enjoyed seeing people and making sure there was a touch point with the congregants, with the congregation every Sunday. So not seeing them anymore, that was hard for me. Now, what wasn't hard for me was sitting on my patio on Sunday morning drinking a mimosa, not having to go to church. It's like, I can get used to this.
Fair enough. Fair enough. What she's basically saying for all you churchgoers is just me having herself her own time, and she's offering church almost every day out there with people. Okay, I don't want people sending me messages, okay, or emails telling me I'm saying no to church. I just have to say that, Gail. Just have to say that. You find a lot of people are easy able to take in God's word or take in spirituality or stuff like that because the fact that it's not in an actual building.
I think it's a big difference. And I think what helped for us too, although we had been out of it for about a year and a half, what we're seeing all over the world now with COVID and the pandemic, many people weren't going into a building. So they took it to live streaming and they start doing it differently. People are more comfortable now that church buildings are opening all around the US, especially. Many people are saying, I think I'm gonna stay home. I think I'm gonna continue with the live stream option because I was able to meet so many different people. I was able to hear from so many different pastors or speakers or ministries. People are liking that. With so much going on today, people are like, I think I like rather meeting up with you, doing a small group. That's 2 or 3 people together having a Bible study, or having a book club where we're discussing different topics. Or can I just talk with you? I'm having a bad day, or I'm so tired and over my children, I just want to speak to an adult. That's ministry. And I think people are so open to that today. So open to that today. So I would say, yes, it's easier for people. At least that's what I'm witnessing.
In a sense, I agree with you. And also, like, for people that are maybe not feel comfortable going into a church, or people that weren't open, and the fact you say that's ministry, like, there's so many people that are in pain right now with COVID-19. There's so many people that are dealing with, mental health issues, stuff like that. A lot of them don't see, a traditional church as a solution. But in a sense, if what you're offering, it is that, but it's in a guise that it's not in an actual structure. So the reason why I really ask you that question is because I feel like it could be a new transition, or it could be a new, not phase, but a new form of ministry that people will be open to, that are willing to come back to spirituality and understanding and be open to that conversation.
Yes, I agree with you.
Because I was like, that was really important. Because when you said that to me, I'm like, there's so many people that don't want to go to church, but if they have somebody like you to talk to, and I keep bringing this back because I know there's a lot of people are hurting. So if anybody's watching or listening, what Gail is stating and what she's offering, what she does, is something that I think, if you're hurting and you haven't tried it, consider it. Is that fair to say, Gail?
Yes, that's fair to say. I can take a normal day, and within a day, I have people who go to my site and they'll just schedule even a 15-minute conversation. They're just saying, I just want somebody to listen. And they're just talking, and they get it off their chest. It's amazing that people today are saying, I just want somebody to see me and hear me. And that's what I do.
Well, if that's what you do, then how do we reach you to get the help? So that's the correct question, because you keep telling us you do this. So how do you reach you to get the help? What's the best platform?
I have a booking site, which is www.bookwithgail.as.me. And people just, they reach out, or they go to my regular website, which is gaildudley.com, and they click on the book now icon. But I just have a list of services that I have there. But there is, and I let people know this because of who I am, that first service there is a 15-minute free call. So I don't want people to abuse that and just call me like every 15 minutes for a free session, but it's there because some people are like, I don't want an hour session. I don't want a 45. I just want to talk for 15 minutes. I'm like, cool, let's talk. Because that's my first, that's who I am. That's my purpose. That's what I do. And then you mentioned my books earlier. My books are there too for people to tap into whether they want to go alone or not. And what a book that is selling like crazy right now is the book. It's a workbook, actually. It's a 49-day workbook called Getting to the Root of It, where it's taking people through 49 days of what's really going on with me. And people are saying, wow, I didn't think I could do this in 45 days. I thought it was too long. But once I got over that 15th or 16th day, they're like, I'm really finding my groove and I'm really identifying things where I need help. And so there's that book. It's out there. And then there are people who will book a session with me because they just want to talk about what they uncovered. And I think so often, even when people go at it alone, at some point they need somebody to process that with, to say, am I on the right track? Yes or no? Or, how can I navigate these next steps? People are, I don't know, something happened with COVID that people are identifying, okay, if I'm not in this corporate building, this is what I have seen with myself, and this is what I'm experiencing. Or I'm realizing that I'm not a homebody at all, or I'm realizing that I love being at home. And now that I have to face going back to a corporate building or to whatever building, this is difficult for me. So how do I navigate that? So I think people are coming up with new questions today that they've never had before.
It's fair.
And
I think
it's time for them to answer those,
Yeah, you're right. Like a lot of people are dealing with some identity issues,
Yes.
changing. And then you're right. A lot of people are discovering new things about themselves, and they're like, okay, can I go back to the norm? Well, supposed norm. Do I want to? And some people are feeling anxiety going back.
Yes.
Or even maintaining the current status quo of staying home, right? Because
Yes.
if you have kids and your significant other is living at, working, it's a lot of chaos. Like I remember the first few months, a lot of people were struggling with that,
Yes.
and then a lot of people are zoomed out, so.
Right. Oh, I was zoomed out for real. I recall I'm in Ohio. So when we went to that lockdown phase.
Yes, everybody did some at one point.
Yeah. And I was like, I don't care if I have to get in my car and drive to the zoo, although it's not open, and drive back home. And it was winter, snow, everything. But for me, I had to get out the four walls, like get me out of here, even if it's for 15, 20 minutes. But I was able to tap into what do I need, where some people weren't able to tap into that, or they didn't have the means to just get out and drive down the street or whatever. But for me, I was like, I got to get out of here. And you can only go to the grocery store so much that was open, it's like, okay, I'm done with the grocery store, but what else can I do? I got to do something. And I think, and I'll say for me, I realized I'm an extrovert, which I already knew that, but being at home where it's like, I can't do anything but wake up, watch TV, do Zoom meetings and go to sleep. No, this will drive me batty. I'm going to lose my mind. So I had to find an outlet. And that was either walking the neighborhood or getting in my car, taking a drive and coming back.
I agree with you. For me, it was hard. It was really hard. I don't like to be boxed in. I don't like to be told I can't really do anything and then stuck.
Yeah.
So I don't like the cold. I actually walked outside the cold. That's when I knew I need to get out. And you're right. Like at one point, a lot of people were just driving around. Even at one point, I don't think I'm in Ontario, Canada, Toronto. At one point, they were going to mandate police to stop you to why you left your house. So at one point, you couldn't even leave your house in the car. So I know, like, I guess going back to what we're really talking about really is, what you offer now in marketplace ministry. A lot of, in that time, I feel a lot of people need that kind of conversation that you offered, and I know we talked about how you transitioned. You also said you are a CEO and a publisher of Ready magazine.
Yes.
Look, you did 11 books. You were a date, like Gail, like explain this. How did that come up? Like, yes, just explain, please. Explain.
It's a very interesting writing journey.
Okay.
The first book actually came from a message I delivered at a church for a Women's Day event.
Nice.
And I'm not one to write down my entire message. I do bullet points. And so at this church I was attending where I was speaking, their recording did not record the message. Something happened and it got erased or whatever. So some women came to me from that church because I was visiting at another church. Some women came to me and they said, can we have your notes? And I laughed. I said, I don't have notes. I have bullet points. And they said, well, we wrote down some notes. Could you help us piece it together so that they were wanting to do a small group study over what I had, my topic, which was overcoming fear as women. And so I said, okay, so I was writing it. And then when I was done, I was like, this is a daggone book. So I just kept adding chapters to it because I kept digging deeper. So I told the three women, I said, hey, I'm turning this into a book. I'll give you the book free. Once I'm done, I'll put your name in it. That became the first book, which is called Ready to Change My Name, A Spiritual Journey from Fear to Faith. And from that, another book came out and then another book. But I have to be in the mood to write for books to come out. And then my daughter and I, where the magazine came from, and it's a print magazine. My daughter and I, we were going on a family vacation. She was home from college and we got stuck on the tarmac on the plane. But we had gone into the gift shop to get our magazines because we were going to the beach and we were going to chill. Well, we were on the tarmac for about 50 minutes stuck because of a storm. Between the two of us, we went through 17 magazines in 50 minutes. And we were like, no, take the plane back to the gate, let us off because we're going to return these magazines, because there was nothing but advertisement and very few articles, or shall I say very few in-depth articles. So my daughter says, Mom, let's do a magazine. I said, are you crazy? She goes, you write books, let's do a magazine. And I blew her off. But when we were finally on vacation, I was thinking, I know all of these authors. Let's try this. So that was in October. We released the first magazine on MLK Day, Martin Luther King Day here in the States, in January. We were saying we were just going to try it out. People started writing in saying that they had not read a magazine from cover to cover in years. And they're like, when's the next one coming out? We were like, what? So I called all my author friends again and said, all right, y'all, sounds like we're going to be doing this on a quarterly basis. So we have been. I have since turned it over to my daughter completely. I'm still a part of the company, but I've turned it over to her completely, which was October of 2019. But then, of course, the pandemic hit, and where we were getting the print publications, everything was shut down. So it's just been at a lull, if you will, right now. But they're starting to look at putting it back out in 2022. But we ended up in over 43 countries, just from, again, it's all of my author connections all over the world. I had them writing, and we were putting out things that dealt with social justice, volunteerism, philanthropy, small business development, leadership, anything that women dealt with, finances, health, raising children, all of that. And we would get writers, like we have a writer from Zimbabwe, Bulawayo, Zimbabwe, and we wouldn't change their language, their dialect or anything, but people love that. So we're looking at how to relaunch it, if you will. I told my daughter I would help her to some degree, but I really did turn it over to her. So we were in that for 6 years. Yeah.
And I forgot to add that you also have your own podcast, right?
Yes, I have my own podcast.
Yes. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know if you went from ministry.
I cannot be bored. I cannot be bored. I would go crazy.
I understand, Gail. I do. I'm like that, but by all means, you're a good few years ahead of me. I thought people think I'm busy. Gail. That's why I said Gail.
Now I do practice self-care. For example, in August, I shut down everything in August. I did nothing in the entire month of August. I'm taking off a week and a half at the end of November. And then in December, I'm taking off from the 17th, and I won't return till January the 8th or 9th or something like that. But I'm real good with self-care. That's new for me, but I learned I had to do it. But I do a live. I love news and politics. So I do a live show Monday through Thursday on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube at 7:25 a.m. Eastern, where I talk about the news headlines. I give facts. I'm making sure I'm digging into things before I put it out there. I don't give the spin. It's relevant commentary. And everything that I do, there's a call to action. So every day I'm giving the people a call to action. So even going back to the height of the pandemic, we paid, I don't know, it was over $9,000 to help immigrant single moms to stay in their homes and pay rent. So the viewership joined me to do that. We've been helping with those who are food insecure in different countries. That's something that we continuously do. We registered here in the States during that crazy election, like 9,000 plus voters in 30 days. So there's always a call to action that we do. That's a part of the news, and I love it.
What's it called again? So we can have it there. What's it called?
It's called News in Motion, NEWSINMOTION. So on Facebook, it's facebook.com/news in motion. Or on my YouTube, it's youtube.com/Gail Dudley. But I love it. I literally get up at 4 a.m. every morning to go live at 7:25 a.m. Eastern. I love it. It's like, that is my life. So when you talk about that transition and how to do that, I've gone from corporate fundraising campaigns to writing and publishing a magazine and books to now on live media. And it's like my purpose. Without a doubt, I know that's my purpose. I get up, I'm excited. I can't wait. Doing the research, I'm all excited. It's like life after 50. I'm 56 years old. So it's like life after 50.
She's lying. Everybody, she's lying. Go ahead, Gail.
No, I am 56
she's lying.
years
Go
old.
ahead, Gail. Go ahead, Gail. Go ahead.
I am really 56 years old. I was born in 1960.
Okay, well, humor, Gail. She's 56. Go ahead, Gail. You were saying?
But I get up just totally excited. It's like, yes. When I was off the month of August, although I needed the break because the news was crazy. I mean, news was like just too much. It was too much. And I noticed things started getting really bad for me, just mentally, especially after we had Ahmaud Arbery, then we had George Floyd, and then and I was like, I don't know how much I can take. I can't, it's like, then we had the insurrection, and then we had the voting here in the States, which was chaotic. I think the man's crazy, but anyway, it was just all over the place. By the time I got to August, I was like, July, I said, I think I'm at burnout. And I celebrated my 56th birthday in July. And I said, I have to take August off or else I won't be any good. So I was able to hear my body and shut down. I didn't return until September the 8th. But even the people who are the viewers, they have said, your return brought all of your energy back. And they were saying they noticed that my energy started going away. Because people will say they've given up their local news. They're like, I don't even watch news anymore. I come on here and watch News in Motion. I get many people saying that. And then people will say things like, because I've asked, like, why do you tune into this? And they're like, because of you, because of your energy, because of the connection, because of the truth. And I'm like, wow. So I'm delivering something that people are hungry for. And at the end of talking about marketplace ministry, at the end of every broadcast, I give an inspirational message. And it could be something as simple as laugh. Like, it's important to laugh. So I just spin off on why it's important to laugh. Today, I talked about pay attention as the inspirational message. I was just saying, you have to pay attention to your surroundings, figure out what's distracting you, figure out what's encouraging you. That's the inspirational message. And then I always sign off with stay well and remember to make bold moves. And I believe people need to make bold moves. Time out for waiting until tomorrow. It's like, you got to do that today. So I love life. I'm excited about life. And that's been the transition. That's been the transition for me. And I tell everybody, if you have a dream, go do it. It's that important.
Great conversation, Gail. This has been by far one. I love this. I want to ask you what's next, but then I don't know if I'm going to be exhausted listening to what's next, Gail. So anything else you're going to add to your resume, Gail, please?
No. And I really don't think I even have a next. At least I don't know about it. I think this is it.
It's funny. I found a passion. I enjoy, when I'm listening to you talk, you make me feel sane. You do. You make me feel sane. You do. You make me feel sane. And what I mean by that is a lot of people, unless they understand, unless they have an idea of what they want in life or there's a purpose in life, they can look at you or myself and say, she does too much, right? But then if granted, there's going to be days you're going to burn out, but if you enjoy what you do, it
Right.
doesn't seem that much. And so the burnout is just because after a while, as you're only human, you can only go so much, your energy level,
Right.
you need to recharge. When you recharge, you come back, but you don't hate or you're not trying to escape what you currently do. You just need to recharge yourself because it's like a battery. Battery's not going to stay up 24/7. So I commend you for all the stuff you've accomplished and all the stuff you're going to accomplish in the future. You're a beautiful soul. I can see that. And I appreciate you wanting to be on this podcast and have this conversation with me. And again, we still believe you're 56, but thank you, Gail. We appreciate this conversation. Anything you want to say before we have to let you go, Gail?
No, I am so grateful that you even invited me to your table. That means a lot. I get excited when I meet new people. I mean, that's just who I am and what I do. And I'm with you. My grandmother told me years ago, she says, don't just have one thing. She goes, do multiple, because as seasons change, you may change with those seasons. And I'm sure people look at me like, she got too much going on. But I love, love, love it. Just like yourself. I love it. So thank you for allowing me to come and sit with you and talk with you, with your listeners and viewers.
That's great. Thank you. We're glad to have you join us. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, share with anyone that needs to be empowered and inspired. And don't forget to join us next week for the next episode of Health Your Way Podcast. Have a good day, you guys.